All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today we are looking at something, well, you might think it's pretty straightforward, right? Grammar.
Yeah,
But you sent in this report, and it questions if we really need perfect grammar all the time.
it does.
So that is what we are going to dive into today. Do those rules, the hard and fast ones, really matter as much as we think they do? We've got your analysis right here, and it looks at things like the purpose of grammar, different ways to even think about those rules, and it's got some interesting examples in it.
Yeah, it really asks if perfect grammar is like the be-all and end-all
Mm.
of communicating clearly or if there's more to it than that. And, your sources bring up some interesting points for sure.
Okay, so let's break this down. The report, it starts by saying, look, grammar has this basic job, right? It gives us structure, it makes sure we can, understand each other, and it definitely clears up confusion. Like that classic example, let's eat grandma versus let's eat grandma. I mean, that comma is a lifesaver.
Totally. That totally highlights how even small grammatical things can make a huge difference in meaning. Like it prevents ambiguity and, grammar is that system that helps us build and understand complex ideas.
But here's where things get a little more, well, nuanced. Your report talks about this difference between prescriptive and descriptive grammar. Can you give us, like, the rundown?
Sure. So prescriptive grammar, that's like the rule book, how language should be used,
Yeah.
often based on tradition, like those rules you learned way back in school.
Oh, yeah.
But then you've got descriptive grammar. That focuses on how language is actually used every single day. All the little variations, the slang, maybe what some people might call mistakes.
Hmm.
And linguists, they tend to focus on this, seeing grammar more like these patterns that come up naturally when people communicate.
So it's like the difference between what someone says is correct and what people are actually doing out there in the real world.
Exactly.
And this whole thing has been debated forever, right? Some folks worry about language going downhill. Others say it's evolving, it's natural.
Right, yeah. Prescriptivists, they worry about like a decay of language, while descriptivists might see prescriptivism as a bit elitist, ignoring the natural evolution of language. And modern linguistics, it leans heavily towards the descriptive view these days.
Okay, so your report, it makes this point that I think is so important, which is what really matters is just getting your message across clearly, and that doesn't always mean perfect grammar.
Right, like effective communication comes down to whether people get what you're saying. Good grammar can help with that, sure, but it's not the only thing.
Right.
Word choice matters, how you structure your thoughts, and even understanding the context of the conversation, those are all super important too.
So it's about achieving that purpose of communication.
Exactly.
And who we're talking to and where we're communicating, like, audience and medium. That really changes how strict we need to be with grammar. I mean, think about it.
Absolutely. Like a formal business proposal, that needs a very different level of grammatical precision than, say, a quick text message you'd send to a friend.
Yep.
Social media, it's all about informality. Traditional media might stick a little closer to standard grammar. Even within journalism, the style kind of adapts based on where it's being published or shared.
It's so true. And this is another thing your report brings up. Grammar isn't static. It's not like the set in stone thing. Language is always changing. Think about how often we start sentences with because now, something that was like a huge no-no in the past.
It's true. Language is constantly evolving through learning, through contact with other languages, social trends, even technology plays a role. New words pop up, old rules become less relevant. Sometimes clinging to those outdated rules, it could actually make communication harder.
So it seems like linguists, the people who study language for a living, they're more concerned with how language actually works, not just enforcing the rules.
Yeah, that's a pretty common view. They see grammar as this living mental system. Some ways of teaching language even prioritize just getting the message across, being fluent, over being perfectly grammatically correct right from the start.
That makes sense. Like if you're so worried about getting every little grammatical detail right, it can make you hesitant to speak or to write naturally. And plus, constantly correcting people's grammar, especially in casual conversations, it can make you seem, well, a little out of touch.
Yeah, it can make you seem a little uptight, like being too strict with grammar can really stifle natural expression and fluency.
Yeah.
Even a lot of native speakers don't use perfect grammar when they're talking in everyday life. Being super rigid, it just feels out of place in informal settings.
It's so true. And your report, It had some really interesting examples of times when breaking the rules of grammar can actually be really effective. Like authors like Shel Silverstein, they play with language in their poetry for kids.
Mhm.
Even classic writers like Jane Austen used language in ways that we might consider incorrect today.
It's fascinating how intentional deviations from standard grammar can create specific effects,
Yeah.
like giving a character a distinct voice or setting a particular tone or just emphasizing certain points. Your sources show examples in literature, in formal writing, even texting, where, not following those rules can actually make the communication stronger, especially within a specific group or context.
So it seems like the big takeaway here is that grammar, it gives us this really important structure, but communicating clearly is more about being understood, knowing who you are talking to and the situation you are in, and not letting the rules get in the way of actually connecting with someone.
That's a great way to put it. Understanding what grammar is for and knowing that its importance changes depending on the situation. That's key.
So here's something to think about. Where in your own life could you maybe loosen up a little on perfect grammar? Maybe in those quick emails you send, those brainstorming sessions you have. When it comes down to it, clarity and connection, those are often what matter most. And maybe absolute perfect grammar isn't always the only way or even the best way to achieve that. Thanks for joining us on this really insightful deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.